I was serving dinner in my own house when my daughter Carla shouted right in front of everyone, "My grandma smells like pee." The entire table exploded with laughter. My son-in-law Darren applauded as if it were the funniest thing in the world. My grandchildren, 12-year-old Jaden and 10-year-old Mia, laughed so hard they almost choked on their food. I felt my face burn with shame, but I didn't say a word. I just finished serving, my hands trembling, and sat down in silence. At 67, I had become the punchline at my own table. After raising Carla by myself since she was 2, working double shifts to afford her private tutors and a comfortable life, I was now treated like a burden in the house I built with my own sweat. They thought I didn't notice the looks of contempt, the whispers when they believed I couldn't hear. "Grandma is getting annoying," Mia would say. "She complains about everything." Jaden would finish. Darren always agreed, nodding as if he were doing me a huge favor by tolerating me in my own home. That night, after everyone had gone to sleep, I stood alone in the kitchen washing dishes and quietly talking to God. "Lord, what did I do to deserve this ingratitude? Did I sacrifice too much for them?" Tears fell into the soapy water, but something inside me was shifting. I was no longer the woman who accepted disrespect in silence. For years, they never questioned where the money came from for the bills, the groceries, or their trips. They never wanted to know about my savings, my investments, or what I truly owned. But what they didn't know was that everything was about to change. My name is Eleanor Jenkins, but everyone calls me Ellie. I am 67 years old, and for decades I have been the invisible woman who holds this family together. Carla never had to worry about a thing because I was always there solving problems, paying bills, sacrificing myself. When her father, Frank, left us, she was barely 2 years old. He left one morning taking only one suitcase and leaving behind debts that took me years to pay off. We never heard from him again. Carla was too small to understand that her world had collapsed. But I understood perfectly. I worked as a seamstress during the day and cleaned offices at night to save every dime. My girl never went without. I paid for her English classes, computer courses, and a private college degree in business administration. When she married Darren, I gave them $50,000 as a gift to start their life. When Jaden was born, they moved in with me into the house I had purchased years earlier. I cared for the baby for 2 years while Carla recovered. When Mia arrived, I did the same. I was always the woman who solved everything, supported everyone, and sacrificed for other people's dreams. During the last 5 years they lived with me, I became the unpaid housekeeper in my own house. I woke up at 500 in the morning to prepare breakfast, lay out the kids' school clothes, and cook dinner. Carla worked a part-time shift at a retail store, earning barely minimum wage. But she lived as if she were wealthy. Darren had been unemployed for the last 8 months since he was laid off from the accounting firm. But he pretended he was evaluating better offers. They spent money they didn't have on restaurants, designer clothes for the kids, and trips to the mall every weekend. And who paid for all of it? I did. Who covered the bills for my own house where they lived rent-free? I did. Who supported this family of 4? I did, with my retirement checks and the investments I accumulated over 40 years of hard work. Yet they saw me as a burden, as something they needed to get rid of. Last week, I overheard Darren talking on the phone with his sister. Ellie is becoming unbearable. She keeps questioning our spending, complaining about everything. We're thinking about convincing her to move into a retirement community. It would be better for everyone. My blood boiled when I heard that. It wasn't sadness. It was pure indignation, a rage that grew with every humiliation. But there are things they don't know about me, things they are about to discover very soon. Throughout all these years, while they lived their comfortable lives at my expense, I was very smart with my money. I worked for 40 years. First as a seamstress, then I got a better job at a textile factory where I rose to be a supervisor. I never spent money on luxuries. I always saved and always invested. I bought this house when I was 30 and paid it off completely in 15 years. I have savings accounts, bank investments, a net worth they never bothered to learn about. The problem is that I got used to being generous. When Carla got married, when the grandchildren were born, whenever they needed help, I was always there with my money and my labor. But generosity turned into obligation, and obligation turned into contempt. Now they see me as an old, useless employee, like a bulky piece of furniture that needs to be moved out of the way. The night before last, after the humiliating dinner episode, something definitively broke inside me. I stayed awake late thinking about every sacrifice I made, every time I kept quiet when they disrespected me, every moment I put their needs before my own. 45 years raising Carla alone, 10 years helping her with college tuition, 5 years supporting her, her husband, and their children. And now they repay me with mockery and schemes to get rid of me. This morning, I woke up different, not with sadness, but with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. I got up, made my coffee, and sat down to run the numbers in my old notebook. I tallied my savings, my investments, the value of this house, everything I truly own. The figure made me smile for the first time in months. They have no idea what I really have, and they have no idea what I'm about to do. Carla left early for work as usual. Darren stayed home job searching on the internet as usual. The children went to school, and I stayed there in my kitchen planning my freedom, because that is what I am going to do. I am going to free myself from this family that sees me as a burden. I am going to free myself from this life where I am neither respected nor valued. I am going to stop being the woman who gives everything and receives nothing in return. I called the bank and asked for an appointment with my account executive, Mr. Ryan, who has handled my accounts for over 10 years. I told him I needed to review all my investments because I was considering making some major changes. He gave me an appointment for the following Monday. I also called my cousin Martha, the only family member who truly cares about me, and told her everything that was happening. She was furious and told me I could stay at her place for as long as I wanted. Then I called attorney David Lewis, my lawyer, and asked for an urgent appointment. I explained that I needed to update my will because my family situation had changed. He said he could see me on Tuesday. I also started searching online for small apartments to rent far away from here in another neighborhood where I could start over, because that is exactly what I'm going to do. I am going to start over. At 67, I am going to show them I am not the helpless old lady they think I am. I am going to teach them what it really means to lose someone who loves them. I am going to show them what life is like without the woman who always solved everything for them. For the rest of the week, I watched them with new eyes. Darren woke up late, ate the breakfast I prepared, sat at the computer pretending to look for work, ate the dinner I cooked, watched television, and went to bed. Carla arrived tired from the store, complained if dinner wasn't ready, scolded the kids for trivial things, showered, and went to sleep. The kids arrived from school, threw their backpacks everywhere, ate what I served them, did homework if they felt like it, played video games, and went to bed. None of them wondered how the house functioned, who paid the electricity, the gas, the water, the groceries, the school supplies, or the outings. For them, all of this appeared magically. The food cooked itself, the bills paid themselves, the clothes washed themselves. And at the center of all that magic was me, invisible, taken for granted, and undervalued. Friday night brought another disastrous family dinner. Carla was in a bad mood because the store had low sales, meaning less commission for her. Darren was frustrated because he hadn't found anything interesting in his job search. The children were restless because they wanted to go to the movies over the weekend, but Carla had told them there was no money. I served dinner in silence. Stewed chicken, red rice, refried beans, freshly made cornbread, all prepared with my hands, my time, and my money. I sat in my usual spot at the end of the table and began to eat without a word. It was then that Jaden, my 12-year-old grandson, made a comment that was the final straw. "Grandma, why do you always eat in silence? You look like a ghost," he said, laughing. Mia laughed too. Carla smiled. Darren didn't even look up from his plate. In that moment, I understood that to them, I truly was a ghost. A presence they took for granted that didn't deserve consideration or respect. I finished eating, collected my plate, and went to my room without saying goodbye. I heard them continue laughing, probably about Jaden's comment. They didn't follow me. They didn't ask if I was okay. They didn't apologize. They simply carried on with their lives as if nothing had happened. That night, lying in bed, I made the final decision. I wouldn't wait any longer. I wouldn't tolerate any more humiliation. I wouldn't continue being the ghost in my own house. Monday, I would start executing my plan. Tuesday, I would be in the lawyer's office. By the weekend, they would know what it really meant to lose someone who loved them. I fell asleep that night with a strange feeling. It wasn't sadness, it wasn't anger, it was peace. The peace of knowing I was finally going to reclaim my dignity. The peace of knowing I wouldn't allow them to treat me like garbage anymore. The peace of knowing that very soon they would discover who truly held their world together. Saturday morning, I woke up early as always. I prepared breakfast as always. I cleaned the house as always. But inside, I was no longer the same woman. Inside, my silent revolution had already begun. A revolution they couldn't even imagine. During breakfast, Carla casually mentioned that she had talked to her cousin, Lisa, about the possibility of me moving in with her. She says she has an extra room and it would be nice for you to have company, she said without looking me in the eye. What could talk to her next week? Darren nodded enthusiastically. That would be good for everyone. Ellie would have company her own age and we could reorganize the house. This room could become an office for me. The children didn't even comment. For them, Grandma leaving was just another grown-up change that didn't directly affect them. I continued eating my toast and jam, saying nothing, but inside I was smiling. They thought they were organizing my life. They didn't know I had already taken control of my own destiny. After breakfast, I went for a walk in the neighborhood as I do every Saturday. But this time, my walk had a different purpose. I observed the houses, the streets, the people. I mentally said goodbye to this place where I had lived for so many years. Some memories were beautiful. Carla as a little girl running on these same sidewalks, buying ice cream on the corner, me walking her to her first day of school. But other memories were bitter. The nights I worked late to pay for this house. The times I sacrificed to give her the best. The moments she yelled at me as a teenager and I kept silent out of love. I returned home with a sense of closure. It was time to close this chapter of my life. It was time to open a new one. A chapter where I was the protagonist of my own story, not a secondary character in someone else's. Sunday afternoon, while everyone was watching a movie in the living room, I stayed in the kitchen organizing important papers I would need to take with me. My birth certificate, social security card, investment statements, house deeds, and bank documents. Everything was in order. Everything was ready for my new life. Carla came into the kitchen to pour herself some water and saw me with all the papers spread out on the table. "What are you doing, Ma?" she asked with some curiosity. "Organizing some documents," I replied, giving it no importance. "What for?" "Just to keep them tidy. It never hurts." She shrugged and left. She wasn't really interested in what I was doing. She never had been. And very soon she would realize she should have cared a lot more. That night, before going to bed, I stood in front of the mirror in my room and looked at myself closely. I saw a 67-year-old woman with graying but well-kept hair, with wrinkles that spoke of years of work and worry, but also with eyes that shone with a determination I hadn't felt in decades. "Eleanor," I said to my own reflection, to